Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello, everyone. We are on our weekly writers' meeting, and together we'd like to ask several current questions about our day-to-day life in order to write to the public. And we'd like to start with the coronavirus. We thought that it's already behind us, at least until the next winter, but numbers are rising, telling us that the corona is here to stay, at least for now, and we see that it's spreading in schools and in other places, and we'd like to start with the question of what did we miss in the first wave? I don't think that we really missed something, like we did not build the connections between us. Schools were closed, workplaces were closed, we fled to our apartments in order to hide, we didn't contact each other, we didn't even want to see each other, we immediately stopped meeting. I'm not talking about coffee shops or theaters or something, but in general, even to go to some shop, you have to keep your distance, 2-meter distance, whereas afterwards, we started behaving like little children. If things calmed down a bit, then we started going wild. And the result, we can see now. So nothing actually happened. It's not a new virus or anything, or a new attack. And it's not that the season has changed or anything, but it's our behavior. We're behaving in an immature fashion, all of us. That's what's interesting. This is also how we look to the future. We think that it's going to pass and we're going to go back to having a wild time. And it's not. It's remnants of the first outbreak, or no, it's not remnants. This is the current state that was revealed, and it continues, and it all depends on our behavior. We'll come closer to one another, the numbers will rise, we'll keep our distance, we'll protect each other, protect ourselves. There will be less people infected until we start improving the connection between us. The quality, the intensity of our connection, and accordingly we can examine them. We see that to this day nothing works besides keeping our distance. Let's do something else. Let's see whether we can change the character of our relations, and accordingly we'll see. Does it affect the number of people that are ill or not? Will a better connection between us, a nicer, better connection, will it allow us to come closer to one another? Is there some kind of connection between the two? Isn't it only a matter of hygiene if we keep our distance and wear masks? Hygiene, you're right. It's a matter of hygiene, but on a higher level, on the level of human relations. Not to pass our inner viruses and our inner behavior to each other. Can you explain a bit more? What does it mean? How do I pass a virus on to someone else? If I sit at home, can I infect someone? Of course. Because it depends on my thought, on my desire, and not on anything else. What kind of viruses am I passing and how? your attitude toward others, is it good or is it bad? You, in your desire, are you interested in coming closer to others or moving away from them, distancing yourself from them? I'm speaking emotionally wise. And it depends on the measure to which you correct the force field between you and others. And these are the results that we see. I hear that we've advanced a bit. In the first wave, we said that the first stage is to distance ourselves physically. Physical distancing. Now I hear something else. Now it's more advanced. It's no longer physical distancing, but a kind of coming closer. It's being emotionally more distanced or closer. Can you explain? That we pass these viruses onto each other, even on the level of our thoughts, intentions, desires. We pass these viruses onto each other by these things. And here we also have to keep our distance from bad intentions? For sure. For sure, this is something that we have to examine. We really have to do some serious research about this. And in my opinion, I really hope that actually in that we will feel what kind of an impact does it have. So, from what I understand, the second stage is intended to bring to our awareness that we have an incorrect form of attitude toward one another. It no longer matters 2 meters or not, but it's my thought. Of course, suppose we rise to a different level, psychological level. Let's talk in clear words, understood words. How do you see an ordinary person feeling or understanding that there's another quarantine? I'm sitting at home. I think bad things about others or even want to exploit them. By this, I draw a virus upon myself. You have to get off your computer screen or your TV screen. Exercises, movies, lectures, different materials that explain to you about how much thinking good things about each other brings us closer together, and that it is much more powerful than physical closeness, and it could neutralize all the harmful things, so much so that physical closeness or distancing will not affect us if we start coming closer emotionally, psychologically. Okay, there are many people. I have different attitudes towards them. Doesn't matter. It could be people that I hate, or I can't stand, or I can stand. It doesn't matter. In principle, I have to understand the inner principle of society. We're all a part of one system that has to be interconnected and integral connections and complete communication. So, being aware of this, being aware that I have to change the way in which I'm thinking about others in general, the main thing here are my thoughts. Yes, thoughts and intentions. And here we have what to learn, a lot to learn and teach, to convince, to persuade children, grown-ups, men, women, younger, older. It's really to open to a person the internality of his relations. And it's very serious work, but it's work. That by this we build people, we build society, we build a new attitude. By this we change man's attitude toward life, man's attitude toward his work. Why do we need why do we need all of this redundant work to lie to each other, to gain off each other? Here we're opening into a new world, a new society, new people, new work, and undoubtedly a new form of healing. A new kind of remedy that undoubtedly all of our illnesses and diseases, they all depend on the relations between us. Previously you said that I have to examine whether in my desire I want to come closer or move away from others. If I see that I don't want to come closer to other people, it's funner to be alone. What do I have to do? Then you have a problem that you are in the danger group that can catch the virus. And what can you do in this state? Correct yourself. How? By correcting your attitude towards others. I have to sit and to force myself to think good thoughts about other people? No, you don't have to sit and force yourself. You have to watch shows about it, talks about it, where people talk about this. What are you sitting at home for, having nothing to do in life? Actually learn how to be a modern woman in modern times. We have to all shift into new relationships between us to fight the virus on the spiritual level, let's call it, or psychological level. I want to ask from the perspective of content makers. You're saying that we have to provide people with this content. Who else if not you? So how we that are now sitting, making a show about it, what do we need to do in order for it to touch people? Miss, this your profession. I don't know. It's your profession. I don't know. Give them a good time. Do it through comedy or through frightening things, or talk about, or do it through love for children, for family life, or through parents, something that kind of threatens them. That besides this disease, from outer space, there's coming some virus that's 100 times bigger than our planet. Like they draw it usually with these horns and, something pretty red. Do it. The main thing is for people to be impressed by this and that they'll want to change themselves. Okay, I agree. We have to try everything, but in terms of the content, what kind of content can touch people that will tell them, look, we have to change our attitude? What can convince them? Young lady, you see how I, time after time, unfold the method systematically, gradually, and explain to you what has to be done. If you're still not ready for it, then we close the page and we talk about other stuff that everyone knows about, that everyone's familiar with, and that there's nothing new about it, actually. Please, I'm ready, I'm willing. I'm trying to explain to you, as my students, as my writers, that you can understand what do I mean And what do we have to be drawn to? And of course, there is a gap between what we're talking about now and what you yourselves can understand and write about, and where the public is, of course. But still, we need to advance toward this. This is our role. This is what we were made for. This is what we exist for within the framework of Bnei Baruch. We have to accept it in a way that we have no choice. This is what we have to do. We accept it. Going back, Dudi, I don't think that it's like a bull for the burden. I think that it's a flying balloon. The soaring balloon in the air, that we're sitting inside that basket, and this balloon is taking us, hot air balloon is taking us upwards, that we look at Earth, how it's moving away from us. And fine, great, let it. Okay. In order to soar even higher with our hot air balloon, I want to ask, we see that the quarantine and the physical distancing stopped the first wave of the corona, and when we went back to normal, you have more and more new cases. It's the physical game that's the key, but you're saying that also quarantine won't help, even if you are isolated. Quarantine will help us, for us to sort all of our businesses, engagements, and erase all of those businesses and engagements that there's no need for, that we just print money and make money off them, that this is the only thing that they're good for. But we have to cut down all of our businesses and engagements to basic needs and to advance that way. So this is the time. The first period that we're in now. Maybe in it too, there's some kind of ups and downs, like we know from our inner work. Maybe. But it's not that it'll go by. It continues and continues until the end of correction. You can tell about this too, by the way. You have nothing to be afraid of. Tell about the end of correction, that humanity has to go through a kind of transformation where we will all become as one man and one heart, and nothing will help us, that nature will bend us and turn us into an integral system. We must reach complete communication between us to truly be as one heart. Tell about it. For this to be in our mind later on. For people to think that, yeah, they're crazy, this is what they think. And gradually, day after day, they'll see how it's coming. It's no problem. We're writing this on your page, so it's okay. I want to ask about the logical process. I heard you saying that a person will now understand that in his thoughts, by his good or bad attitude toward others, he actually influences the coronavirus. And then there was this leap, or at least the way I see it. And from this we'll understand what works do we need, what not. No. Necessary or unnecessary works, engagements, we can understand that even without relating to the coronavirus as a psychological virus, even without that. Suppose that this is something that we could have talked about on our previous lesson. So it's a byproduct of sitting at home again, and for us to think what's necessary and what's not in our engagements and businesses, so that at least for the necessary businesses, we could give them the proper attention and arrange them in such a way that we won't be hurt. so that we will be able to give everyone clothes, food, electricity, medical care, all the basic needs. This is still completely on the corporeal level, and we could have done that before too, but we didn't. We wanted again to go wild. I want to ask about the psychological process, the next stage. I understand that if I think poorly about others or I don't want to think about others, we said on our previous meeting that the next stage is that I can't think about others even if I want to. What's next? Therefore, it's opening up now, this entire matter. Yeah? So now you know you're more familiar with your virus. You see it for what it really is. So it's not just keeping my distance from others, but it's wanting to exploit others without being able to change my way of thinking. No. Don't say that you can't change your way of thinking. This is forbidden to say now. Don't tell this to people. We can. We can reach a state where we can come closer to each other and start thinking about each other and try as much as possible to do this. And we also, and we also have to take into consideration that these are people that do not have that their point in the heart is not conspicuous, and therefore they don't have such an evil inclination. They have a normal egoistic desire to control others, to, things like that. Therefore, it's not that bad. So don't awaken this in them that it is impossible to overcome the evil. It's possible. If I know that without this, I will not be able to provide for myself basic needs, then I will be good to others. Everyone simply sells themselves to others. What do all of these rich people do? In politics and trade, they're selling themselves all the time. They have nothing in life besides what they see. Money, or power. So don't tell them that it's impossible. It's possible. Everything's a matter of gain. And then they'll do it, no problem. You can say that I can be healthy, that I'll close my business and be healthy, then okay. Don't build some kind of wall before them that you can't cross, that you have to explain to them that there is some kind of divine means or something. So what happens internally in a person once he starts thinking favorably about others? Psychologically, what happens in him? By that, he builds inside himself a shield so that the virus will not pass on to him, will not hurt him. Because on every level, we have matter, form dressed in matter, abstract form, and essence. And then we stop the matter by a physical shield, by putting the mask on your face. Form dressed in matter, so it as if doesn't come into abstract form. You can't do it by anything physical. Here, you need some kind of a spiritual inner shield of where this virus comes from. All the viruses come from our bad attitude toward one another. And then here, you have to create a shield. This shield will be called a masach, a screen. You have to do it. And then, when you will have this kind of shield, you care about nothing. You're protected. You're protected against all the viruses, psychologically, spiritually, or don't say spiritually, call it internally. And down to the corporeal level. So it's like the connection that we see, for example, like the connection that we see between positive emotions and good health. Of course, furthermore, because by creating this kind of shield out of your desires and thoughts, that you do not activate bad thoughts and desires towards others, but only good ones. By that, you filter everything. No harm can reach you, can harm you. And if you're doing it within the framework of a small nation or even a small group of people, it starts acquiring a collective shield. This is already something very serious. And also, by stopping to think bad thoughts about others, it gives me a more certain future. You can also tell about this in a religious manner. That it says, love another as yourself, how it's forbidden to think poorly about others. That it says, all religions talk about this, all sources talk about it. There's nothing here that you bring some bad things upon people. But people will feel and will understand. They already know this for thousands of years. And ask the Hindus, ask the different Buddhas, and everything, how good thoughts. Chaim can tell you. He was into it. Yeah? He's holding his silence. But in short, you have here something that you're not serving them with something that is against nature, against reason. It's known that this is how it is in society for a long time now. How do you build this shield that you talked about? Through education. That now that we're sitting at home and we have no choice, that we depend on the physical distance, let's build a psychological shield between us. And then by that, we will protect ourselves. We will protect ourselves in complete control against all the viruses, It's not only this virus, but in general. There's nothing more harmful to a person than his bad attitude towards others. Another question. This Friday is going to be the International Day of Environment. Now, Kabbalah, our organization, will also have a virtual event. All the more, this is what we want to do now. We want to clean the entire atmosphere that we live in. We want to really turn it into, one of the questions is, why correcting the relations between people? Why will this restore the environment? Why not the man's correction toward the still vegetative inanimate? No, it's not enough, because the still vegetative inanimate, they have no evil inclination. The way they behave, like it seems to us that they eat each other, it doesn't come out of an evil inclination, out of a bad desire, but it's because nature forces them to. You can't complain about them eating each other. Also man, if he eats and drinks and uses what he needs for life like any other animal, it's called neither praised nor condemned, then please, all the more, it's allowed. You're not righteous or wicked in this regard, but only what a person does out of his desire, not out of his natural need or urge. For this, he has to give account from that point on, where he starts acting as a human being, no longer on the animate level, but as a human being. There, the problem begins. In the last wave of the corona, we suddenly saw how nature restored itself very quickly. Of course, we can influence everything, even ourselves, if we'll want to, in a very quick way. That's the question. This is the proof that we can correct ourselves if we do this together. Suppose, like all of us, we ran home, everyone's in their own corner, look what happened to nature. So let's do it that way in order to correct ourselves. With people, the process is also quick or gradual. If we all do it together, very quick. What do we have to develop in the audience? There are different programs about how to awaken empathy, feelings. Do we have to only teach about the system or also awaken different feelings? First of all, I don't see where do people treat each other favorably. People talk about mutual responsibility, not to disregard others, to keep the rules and regulations, or moral ideas, but not spiritual ones. I don't know what to tell you about this. I don't really get the question. We, as an organization, we have to better come to understand the integral system, or without that, how will you convince people to be interconnected mutually, to help each other mutually, to feel responsibility mutually? Because I have to reach a state where not only that I help myself or my relatives or those that are close to me or something, but eventually I have to have the thought that in that I'm helping the world, the whole of reality, the entire planet, the entire universe. We have to later continue developing them up to the level of all of humanity being as one man, as the man of the world. And what is your opinion about messages that other organizations talk about, like listening to each other, solidarity, mutual responsibility in our time? What's with all that? Certainly, I won't say anything against them. To the contrary, they should see that we're talking like they do, but we're taking another step forward. We have to emphasize that there is inner spiritual matter here that is taken from the inner Judaism, even from the wisdom of Kabbalah. Let's work. Where does it come from? It's not that we think so, but we're basing ourselves on these things. Israelis, they became minimalists. Since the last wave, they feel good living at home, not going out. Many people did go back to work, but still they have the need to be at home. They found out that they can cook for themselves, clean, fix their electric appliances. You saw this in the first wave, that people will become satisfied with what they have. What do you see at the end of the second wave? We can call it that way. I see those people that are sitting at home and in the meantime are getting different, they're paid by Social Security, by something here, there, that soon they'll have nothing to live from. And then toward that, we have to disseminate our method that everyone will get what they need for a calm life, like they want now, most of them to be, like most people want to be, and that this sum will be paid to them for studying through the internet or through television, and for them to provide us with the correct right answers for them to correctly participate in our new system of education, that otherwise we can't correct the coronavirus. There are more and more viruses to come, like all the Egyptian plagues. Now we want to ask about what's going on in the United States. There are raging protests due to George Floyd's death. Afro-American who was killed by a white policeman, and nothing is really clear. There are different contradicting news. But eventually it caused 30 different cities to go on and off into curfew. There are already people killed and looting and serious riots in the United States, in addition to the corona. Do you think that these are just protests that could lead to justice, or is it just anarchy inflamed by politicians? Look, that it has to do with the struggle between Democrats and Republicans, then that too. But besides that, it's riding on a hate that did not pass from the American society because no one deals with it. No one's taking care of it. That here and there are different pretty things that you see about it in the movies or stories, or that there's no difference anymore, or there is, but that they're working on it for there to be no difference between blacks and whites. But again, we have to understand that red, black, yellow, white, these are 4 different types of the Aleph, Bet, Gimel, and Dalet, the 4 different types in humanity, and we can't make any kind of connection between them unless we rise above everything toward our common goal, where altogether we come out of our body, out of our color, out of our flesh altogether, out of our ego, that we rise above this. And only this way can we be saved of this hate that otherwise will not disappear, but that again and again will be revealed and will go and grow. We as Jews see this on ourselves. We see how much these things do not disappear. And here, there is something of this kind. It's not that clear. Nah, don't start with the Jews. No, I don't want to ask about the Jews. Why can't we all stay in our color and have the same ideology? Different roots. Different roots. Aleph Bet Gimel Daled, or Shoresh Aleph Bet Gimel, root 1 to 3, where we're all integrated in 4, but in potential, are roots there opposite and different. A is not 1 is not 2, 2 is not 3, and 3 is not 4. Dalet Pchinot Tovor Yashar, the 4 phases. Didn't you study about this? What's more contradicting than the difference between the Pchinot? What's the difference whether a person's white or black? It doesn't matter. I don't want to say that this one's closer to Keter and that one's closer to Malchut. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the difference. That there's a big difference and there's oppositeness and you can't compare between them because they're different and therefore you can't compare them. We're thinking these are smarter and those they're softer and these they're physically stronger and those they're more cunning and these are like this and those are like that. Incorrect. All of these comparisons are incorrect. We can't compare anyone to anyone, with anyone. And therefore it's a problem. And we see that even if you take a couple, black and white, then their child has to choose. What is he a part of? He can't be in between. He can't. Then his entire life he'll remain in this inner split. And only by bringing them integral education, that in the integral education where we're all drawn to a common goal, then in that common goal we all fit together or can integrate with each other. Why are we built in such a way that we're different? Why is creation made this way, spiritually and corporeally? Because the connection, unity, love, godliness, it's something that you can reveal only upon contradicting qualities, opposite qualities, according to the law, to the rule of love covers all crimes. Suppose you and I, we hate each other. We're discontent with each other, at least. So there's a good chance that at some point we'll reach love between us. There's a chance. How? How? After a big crisis? After a big crisis, where we will see nonetheless how the complaints or accusations that we have toward each other, black, white, that they all come from above on purpose, from the Creator, in order for us to rise above this to a higher root, that it actually, as it says, he who makes peace above shall make peace among us too. In our current state, it's not clear who's going to make these steps, take them, because it became like a very political issue. No, now it's impossible. We can't do it right now in the United States. I don't think that this is something that we should get into. It'll give us some kind of a characteristic that won't be favored by anyone. It's impossible to do this now, or to do anything now. The Republicans use it, the Democrats use it before the elections. That's why there's nothing that you can do. And all those in between, all these cities, black, white, it's, it's just in order to make the the elections more flammable. Without spiritual roots, you can't solve anything in the world. But you can calm this down, bring in the army, bring in the National Guard, and nothing's going to happen. So things will calm down. A few cops will be killed, a few white, a few blacks will be killed, and things will calm down for some time. But dealing with the root of the problem, that's only on the spiritual level. When you elevate them to the goal, that all of us have to participate in the goal together. So, we're saying that in the process of integral education, we study in groups. How can we combine, in this case, we're talking about different races with different roots, probably there are more differences, but the groups have to be homogeneous. How do you do it? This could be only on condition that they agree to the goal, that you start from afar, and from there you start explaining about creation and the purpose of creation and the correction of creation and people without Kabbalah. And then they start understanding that the goal is for all of us to join together, because only in our connection can we reveal the upper world. You shall see your world in your lifetime, and then, by that, you bring them to a state where you have no choice. We have to come closer to one another, because in the connection between us, we achieve a spiritual, divine life here and now. This means you shall see your world in your lifetime, and then each of us makes like $1 billion. So that there's a common goal. We can be different in the group, people without a point in the heart. Of course, we're all different. No one becomes similar to others by it. We're all different. But we want a common goal, that all the differences between us supplement. By it, we supplement each other, and this way, integrally, together, we become a ball, a whole, complete, analogous ball, undivided. And this actually covers the differences in mentality. Yeah, they'll all be different, all the more. The more we advance toward the goal of creation, we'll become even more different. On the lowest level, we'll hate each other much more, but along with it, above it, we'll love each other even more. And this way, we advance in this sandwich, and we know how to balance these and those inclinations, and we live in between them in hate and love. Norma, you hear that? I do. Previously, we talked about the difference between us and other approaches, methods, techniques that talk about let's develop empathy, let's listen to each other. Usually, you take people that are similar, you put them into a group. If I understand, we're saying we can take completely different people and mentality with different other parameters that are different and put them in the same group and see what happens. After education, because our education is based on a special route for everyone. Right, but we study in a group. I don't mind. I stop seeing the colors. I see a common root. I see something common. Question. when we study Kabbalah, we also go through a certain kind of education, and in this education we have a common goal, which is to reach the attribute of bestowal and so on. And then we see that all the differences between the most different people in the world disappear as though they don't exist at all. To the contrary, people that are very different, they connect and feel very close. Now, people that don't have a point in the heart, what common goal can they have in order to come closer to this goal? What they gain, what they get out of it. I'll sit at home, get a nice scholarship, and will work on my good attitude toward everyone, and eventually I have everything in this world, all that I need, and I'm preparing a nice ticket for myself into the next world. What else do you need? You see how many people nowadays are happy with being satisfied with the least, with what they have. I don't understand. What will I get? I'm living here and now. There's hate on the streets. There's one big mess. What common goal can we find in such a society? To calm all these things down, to calm them down. Or you'll kill another 1,000 people that they'll understand that it's good to calm down. And they will search for a means of how to calm down, and then you'll give it to them. What exactly will I give them? What exactly will I give them? What common thing can I give them that we can all unite around? What can I give them which is not the point in the heart? For common people, ordinary people. Today, I didn't mention the point in the heart. No, I did. I don't understand why are you pulling in that direction. Okay, sorry, I'll rephrase. To us, it's clear what do we have to correct around, what do we have to connect around. But ordinary people, that would interest them is an ordinary good life. What can they connect around? That one can't be well off without the other. It's like you're saying, they're looking for a tranquil life. Fine, but on condition that everything's calm, that you have no enemies, that no one wants to kill you, that no one's stealing anything from you, that children can walk around the streets freely, calmly, play with each other when you're in a world that is all nice and friendly. You want that? So we're bringing you the method of how to get there, how to do it. In today's situation, we can simply break it up. Blacks in their neighborhoods, whites in their neighborhoods. No, it was already tried out. Then, of course, you have Harlem and you have the Fifth Avenue. It doesn't rid you of the problems. So we have to somehow find something common around which we can connect. Of course, that everyone's interdependent in order to achieve the good. Everyone's interdependent. It won't help me to kill all the blacks or all the whites or do something else. I have to reach the correct connection between them. And what is that correct connection between them? So this is something that I'm explaining to them in a series of lectures. But what is it? That we help each other, that we have to support each other together. Together we have to find as a correct formula. Connection. Why? Because that's how humanity is built. This is how nature is built. That it's not something that I created, but nature is built in such a way that it's integral, whole, complete. So reality is built in such a way that it's whole, complete, and integral, and until we build a whole, complete, and integral society, we won't have a good life. True. Okay. Who's next? Dr. Itzhakov. I want to go back to what we talked about the thoughts, how thoughts and intentions design our reality. What is the main message that has to pass in that training that we're building now for a person to understand that only the way a change in the way he thinks about others will bring real change or good into his life? Again, phrase the question. The training that we'll give to people about the educational process, where they'll have to understand that their change, the way they change their thinking about others, is their ticket to a good life. What should be the central message that we have to hammer on? How can a person... The integrality of nature, and even proof that if we don't interfere with nature, that everything falls back into place, is restored. Look what's going on with the water and the air, how it's all improving. See how everything's sensitive. People moved a bit into their apartments, animals went out into the parks, into the streets. Where did they come from? Unclear. And I'm talking about Israel. I'm not talking about some who knows where. It's a small country with a small with so many people, and parks and everything. Where did all the wolves come from? Soon you'll have lions in the streets, tigers. You understand how much nature is suffering and how sensitive it is to all those things that you're in. The coronavirus. What is the coronavirus? It is a living particle that has a program of its own, that has a life of its own. It's like a small animal. Give it the correct necessary conditions. It won't harm you. You're not giving good conditions. It harms you. There's no such thing in nature that to begin with it wants to harm you or anything, but only because you want to destroy it. Logically, this is something that I can understand, that physically a person doesn't interfere, animals come out of their hiding places. What logically I do understand is how is it that by thinking good about others, only thinking that this improves my life, what's the logical connection here? There are forces in nature that don't only come by the power of the fist, but that they are on a more inner level, that we are animals that are so bad that it's something that we have no idea. Animals do understand this. They feel it. They feel the attitude toward them. They feel it. This is why they're coming out of their hiding places and go to our parks and walk around on our streets. We don't feel it. We're worse than everyone. The same with the virus. Related correctly. It's a living being, right? The virus, it's a living being. Treat it favorably in all aspects, and you'll see that it won't harm you. And the fact is, what happened for thousands of years? Why does it appear now suddenly? Like with any other flu, like with any other virus, like the flu or other things, they come according to our growing ego. And therefore they come in periods. And it's clear to us. It's psoa, syphilis, psychosis. These are roots. 3 bases that come and destroy us because this is how we behave, according to our ego. So what does it mean to treat the virus favorably? Very simple. Look at this virus. as each one of your friends. This the virus. We are? Yeah? Each and every one. Treat them in a friendly way, up to the point where you destroy all bad things in them. I'm telling you seriously, it seems as if childish, but it's really true. You're already willing to listen to this a bit, that by our thoughts we can invert all the bad into good and everything harmful into beneficial. Humanity is also ready to listen to this. Explain gradually. It has no choice. It has reached a state where you'll be ready, it'll be ready to hear about these things. Start talking about it. The Creator will complete the work for you. It's easy for me to understand that others are viruses, but as a person going through the process of education, will I understand that I too am a virus, that I'm standing in nature's way of being corrected and integral? Of course you're a virus. Of course. You could be a good virus, you could be a bad virus. We are living in an ocean of viruses. They're inside of us and they're around us. You know this. And so everything depends on the balance and how do we treat them and how do they treat us. We are full of these viruses. And this is on all levels, still, vegetative, animate. It all exists this way in us, and the main thing is the speaking level. This is the most dangerous, strongest virus, most powerful virus. And we could influence it. So there's something here far beyond not just suffering anymore from the corona. And you mentioned this, but I didn't catch what you exactly said. What a person who goes through the educational process that we want to give, what will he get? He gains control over his life through these spiritual viruses. What is a spiritual virus? The force of good and the force of bad. The way he correctly balances them, because there can't be the one without the other. And then he doesn't come in order to show something by this, but how to balance them out. This is man's role, to be the middle line. And every person is supposed to understand this. Every person has to attribute himself to this, relate himself to this. So someone's higher, someone's lower, but eventually we'll see. This is what we'll see. Guys, you will soon see how, not that it's realistic, but that there's no other way about it. Friday, we will show you the research model that we want to examine. Do you think that we can already talk on the level of a process that causes change in thought and that this leads to good results? Can I bring it down to the level concepts that people are familiar with, but do you see society as ready to accept this message? I don't know. Let's continue. I'm ready to try and... we're meeting 3 times or 4 times a week, right? 3 times. Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday. Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, right? So, please, no problem. So, whenever you want, or if you want to talk about some specific topic, I'm ready, I have time. When I talk to you, I'm not really working with my throat that much. Okay. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll meet again Wednesday. And Friday, a guy will introduce the research, so thank you very much, and see you Wednesday. I like talking to you too, especially to you, Dodi. Okay, guys, in short, call me whenever you want. I'm at your service. But you have to know that the correction of the world comes to the world through you, not through anyone else. And everyone is at the end of some cable or pipeline, and this is how it comes. Therefore, I don't know what to do. I'm really dependent on you, and so is humanity and the entire correction. So start being more serious about your role. Good luck. Thank you everyone.